Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Swami Narayana Namaha. Shri Lakshmi Narayana Namaha. Shri Nar Narayana Namaha. Shri Krishna Narayana Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Om Namo Hanumate Bhayabhanjanaya. Sukham Kuru Hat Swaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 24th of November 2022. Today is Thanksgiving Day, which is celebrated throughout the world in many ways. So that's very nice. Thanksgiving is, of course, a time where families usually get together and there's a lot of love and affection and good meals and all that. So again, from Vedanta point of view and from the scriptures and the great sages, in reality, every day can be Thanksgiving. It is a state of gratitude, a gratitude state, a state of well-being throughout the whole 365 days. That is our aim. So we are continuing today along the lines of Vivekchudamani to better understand the glory of Shankaracharyaji's words. Shankaracharyaji, Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharyaji, in many ways is the foundation of the Sanatana Dharma. Of course, Vedvyasji can be considered the original guru in that sense, but even before him there were gurus. It is Sanatan, there's no one founder in that sense. But the advent of Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharyaji set the foundation for the entire development of Vedanta. The development of Vedanta is profound, it is extraordinary. Now, just to be clear about some of the foundational ideas before we continue with our subject, the word Vedanta is composed of two words, Ved plus Anta. Ved means to know, is knowledge. The Vedas, the four Vedas, Rug Ved, Atharva Ved, Sam Ved, the Vedas that are there. The Vedic mantras are part of the Prakriti. This should be very clear. What is the distinction between Ved mantra and Vedanta mantra? So the Vedas are part of the realm of the three gunas of Maya. Now, people may not know that how can that be? You're saying Vedas are part of Maya? It's not that they are Maya in like how we consider, but they are having the sound vibration, the mantras that create the experiences of Maya, that allow Maya to express itself. That is called Ved mantra. And then Vedanta mantra is the end portion of the Vedas, the four Vedas that were classified by Vedvyasji. And that Vedanta is what is called Upanishad. So this terminology should be very clear that the four Vedas, Rigved, Samaved, Atharvaved and Yajurved, these are the four Vedas. Their mantras, all the different thousands and thousands of mantras that are there. For example, Rigved has 50,000 plus mantras. 50,000 plus mantras are there. There might be more actually, but at least I know of that there are that many mantras there, 51,000 or something. And it takes over 10 years to study that one Veda. It might take longer than that also. And that's if you're starting at the age of 15 or 16. Otherwise, it's very difficult later on. Not impossible, but difficult. Why is this? And then, interestingly, when Bhagwan Krishna in the Gita is saying, go beyond the Vedas. This is in the Gita. If you may not know that, but you might know that. It says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. That the three gunas of Maya, Sattva Gun, Rajogun, Tamogun, the experiences of the three gunas of Maya are available through the Vedas. Here's an example. So, for example, we have the Shri Sukta mantra. In many temples, Shri Suktam is chanted. Shri Suktam is part of Rig Veda. Now, interestingly, when we chant Shri Suktam, Om Hiranyavarnam Harinim Suvarna Rajatastrajam, right? The mantra goes on. It is a vibration. It is a divine vibration that obliterates the many problems in this sansara. That is why the Vedas, when chanting the Veda mantra, they have a natural impact and effect in changing the experience for the Jivatma in the waking state and dream state. This is exactly what is Veda mantra. So when Veda mantras are chanted, first of all, they are chanted with the intention of changing the experience in our life. Veda mantra chanting and listening makes this life beautifully flow. It allows us to flow in this world of Prakriti, in this world of interaction without obstacles. It removes the obstacles. This is Ved mantra. Tantra ke jo mantra hai, they do the same thing. That is a different subject. We will talk about that some other time. But I want to try to just create a little bit of foundation for what Shankaracharya ji is saying about Guru Vakyam and the paths Gurus have shown. We're talking about Bhakti. But again, Bhakti, what is the relationship between Bhakti and Veda mantras and Vedanta mantra? This is a massive subject. So just to, in a simple language, to put this clearly, that the Veda mantra, they are not stotra or they are not shloka. They are mantra. So for example, when we say a Veda mantra, or when we hear a Veda mantra, that mantra is responsible for interacting with the causal body, the subtle body, and it changes the experience that we are having in Prakriti. Now, Bhagwan Krishna, what he's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, he's telling Arjuna, he's telling all of us, go beyond the Vedas. Now, what does that mean exactly? When we say go beyond the Vedas, first of all, how can we go beyond when we don't even know what is Veda? So it doesn't mean go beyond in terms of discard the Veda. What he's really saying there is that the Veda mantra, when you go into the Veda mantra, they set the foundation for Brahma Vidya, for higher realization. For example, in our life, if health is really good, mind is stable, enough money is there, good place to stay is there, the sansarik jivan, jisko hum sansarik jivan kehte, everything is in place. To bring everything in place and in synchronicity, Veda mantras are useful for that. They are for that purpose. But when Sri Krishna in the Gita is saying go beyond, that is the path to realize the Atma, the soul, the spirit, and the Brahman, vast consciousness. If someone says, no, I want to just be comfortable in this world, you live a good ethical, moral life, don't hurt anybody, follow some good rules, have lots of enjoyment in this world. Ye sansar ka sukh, sansarik sukh, jisko kehte hain. If you want just that much, Veda mantras are going to be definitely useful for that. And along with that, they do awaken, they will awaken slowly, in this lifetime, other lifetimes, eventually, that desire for realizing the Atma and God. But remember, when the Veda mantras were written, there were no temples. There were no images of gods or goddesses or any of those things were actually there. There were rishis sitting in meditation, and out of deep meditation and dhyana, the dawning of these mantras, they heard the mantras. They're called Shruti. So the tradition of the temples and the scriptures and the gurus and this thing all came much later on. This all began in ancient times, just in nature and in profound silence, in the caves, in the mountains, in oneness with nature, when the mind is completely uncluttered. The connection with the power in the Brahmanda and beyond the Brahmanda, that was heard by the rishis. And then eventually it was transmitted orally. That is Smriti. Shruti and Smriti. Smriti is remembrance. And then from there, eventually Vedvyasji wrote all of this down 5,000 years back. Plus, 5,000 plus. And then the Sanskrit language was eventually written down and created. But all of this was heard. So the Sanskrit language that we speak, or the Vedic mantras, these are not created by human being. They are a revelation within the minds of the rishis, the Rishi Parampara. Paramparas came later. Rishi is a researcher who's sitting for dhyan, who's sitting with the question, what is this reality? So when they're sitting in this dhyana, they are playing with their inner world. They're saying, let me stabilize the inner world because I want to know, who am I? What is this world and what is beyond the mind? This is how Sanatana Dharma began. It began as a research project. It was not developed based on preset ideas, preset beliefs, or preset doctrines. It was never developed like that. And its real heart is not that. Its real heart is Sanshodhan, research, Khoj. Khoj means to search, to research, to experience. And that's what Shankaracharya ji is saying about the teachings of the gurus, the words of the gurus, the paths, instructions given by the great sages from ancient times till today. This is the foundation. I have covered some of this before, but I just want to review it quickly here, just to make sure that we're on the same page. That's why the word Sanatana Dharma. Sanatan means eternally existing. Just as, for example, if we say physics or chemistry or the great ideas in sciences, these things exist in nature. They're not. They cannot be destroyed. Similarly, the truths of the creation of experience are eternal. See this point. When we are awake, right now we are awake. This is called Jagrat Avastha. Avastha means state of experience. Just the state of experience, the rishis were curious at that time, where is this coming from? They were not sitting with temples or books or like we do today. They didn't. I don't know if whatever they may have had, they had curiosity. That is called jignasa. So they're sitting with their own anubhav and saying, "Oh, I'm alive in this world." 3 questions show up: Who am I? What is the nature of this outside world? That is Jagat. Who am I? That is Jeev. And what is the cause of this world? Where did it come from? The cause-effect relationship. Now you will see in the history of Sanatana Dharma 3 points. This is the basis, the basic basis. Karya, Karana, Sambandha. Cause-effect relationship. So that is the discovery of time. That cause and effect. We see everything has a cause and effect. For example, if I'm holding this iPhone in front of me right here, I don't know if you can see that or not. That is the effect. The cause is many people researching, which I don't even know. I cannot see them right now, but they were there at some point. Similarly, everything in this world has some cause. And this world is appearing to me in the waking state. Wow, what a tremendous thing to research. So, the attitude of research, the curiosity, who am I? That is where the Kena Upanishad. So the Upanishads, which is Vedanta, they came from these three questions. Who am I? What is this world? What is the nature of this, what we consider to be the external world? And what is the cause of everything? The cause of all causes. Sarva karana karanam. Three questions. And to answer these questions, how can somebody answer these questions? Two approaches. Remember, this is just a quick review from last year actually. Just a quick reminder. There are two approaches, an external research approach and an internal research approach. There is not a third approach. There cannot be a third approach. There can only be these two. Look at all of the developments in the hard sciences and social sciences. Chemistry, physics, geology, biology, genetics, etc. Anatomy, physiology, and psychology. You can continue, you can keep listing them. This is external research through the senses and through the mind. The same mind, the same intelligence is used. The Buddhi Tattva, which is available in the human frame, allows us to question, allows us to ask questions. We have curiosity. We are not simply living in a pre-programmed, mechanical, robotic way. We are not just a biochemical animal that has been programmed by somebody without any capacity to think, capacity to examine, capacity to ask questions. That is not who we are. We have a human body, as Shankaracharya ji has stated, and I keep repeating this point, that it is durlabh. He said this is very rare. Why the human body is very rare? Rare, durlabham, because we have the capacity to examine the nature of the world outside, the nature of the world inside. Examine, question, probe, and hence perform sadhana. This is the beginning of sadhana. Sadhana is experimentation. It is nothing other than experimentation. Sadhana is not belief. It may begin with certain beliefs, which we do now. Somebody says, okay, Bhagwan ki bhakti karo. So we say, okay, I believe that there is God, I'm doing some bhakti. That is beginning with belief and going in that direction. That's fine. That has come in tradition. That has meaning and value, considerable. But the beginning of the Sanatana Dharma, or in ancient times, let's put it this way, there's not really a beginning. In ancient times, it is not based on belief. It is based on experience and experimentation, and that experimentation is sadhana. And actually, it is all experimentation, even if you are believing in God. If you believe in God, okay, that's a psychological state. But then what? See, as yesterday we were saying, Navda Bhakti, about Shravanam, just that first Bhakti. But this is a big subject, how can that Bhakti develop? See, a million questions come about in the mind. Is God something that is a fantasy created by the mind? Is that what it is? Is God some projection from the mind? Is God some traditional thing, fake thing that has been developed? Something artificial that has been developed by tradition? There's so many theories in psychology and sociology about the development of the concept of God. Is that what it is? Or is it not that? It is actually there's Bhagwan there, and Bhagwan there somewhere, or within us, which we don't know, and that comes to us as avatar, as incarnation. Is that what's going on? See all of this. So when in ancient times, when you ask these three questions, who am I? What is the nature of this world? And what is the cause of all causes? There are only two ways to proceed: external research and internal research. And when you start going in the external research, which we have done as humanity through astronomy and astrology and all the space telescopes, and tremendous developments are there. Millions of galaxies have been discovered. Endless ocean of galaxies have been discovered. This is external research at the macroscopic level and the microscopic level. Microscopically, you can go into the electron microscope and keep going further, and they're probing and break the particles and subatomic particles. This is at the microscopic to the, sort of subatomic, from the subatomic to the universal and beyond universal, multiversal. That level of research, it is external research. There are extraordinary discoveries. Millions of galaxies colliding with each other, and all this has all been discovered through astronomy. The Andromeda galaxy is on a collision course with the Milky Way galaxy in billions of years. Even that's been discovered. Tremendous things have been discovered, which we would have never imagined even just 200 years ago. But that discovery is from external research. The internal research done by the rishis, ancient times, has come in tradition in multiple ways, in diverse languages. Diverse traditions have been developed. Thousands of different ways have been developed to express the discoveries of the inner research and realization. The inner research is what? And how to do that research, that is sadhana. So, internal research begins with the question, who am I? What am I? Is this body? Is this who I am? You say, okay, this body is there. But you know what happens? When we just close our eyes, there's a whole world of thoughts and feelings, internal world. So they realized, they said, wait a minute, this whole realm of the mind, is that me? We can try this. We can just sit in silence, maybe in a park somewhere, beautifully, just for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Just sit silently with yourself. What happens? See the activity of the mind. It's jumping in God knows how many places, right? With our families, with our friends, with our memories, with our different content and programming and so many things. The content of the mind was discovered in the sense one can perceive, oh, is that who I am? So the rishis from ancient times till today, they are saying, and they are showing also that this content of the mind, this is not who we are. The content of psychological consciousness is not me. So they developed a technique of meditation called neti, 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 neti. They would sit for dhyan and say, no, this body, that is not me. This mind, that is not me. This thoughts and emotions, because there is some consciousness, there is something that is seeing. The content of the mind is the seer, is the experiencer of the experience and of the world and whatnot. So now we have this notion, we have this discovery. What is the discovery of this internal research? That the mind is also an object of observation. Just as I can say this hand is mine. I'm seeing the hand. Hand and me are different. I'm seeing the hand. These glasses are mine. This nose is mine. This hand is mine. The mind is also mine. I can see the mind. See, there's a perceiver of the mind. Perceiver of the internal activity of thoughts, emotions, memory, desire, and energy. It is a perceiver. So the perceiver, who is that? Who am I? Now you'll see where the trouble begins. When you start to go into this question, who am I? the vortex of the mind overruns. The person is just one with that activity of emotions and feelings and memories and all that. So then the rishis said at ancient times, wait a minute, what happens if we stabilize the mind? This is where the word yoga really comes from. It comes from this question. The word yoga, meaning the yogic sadhanas that have been developed over thousands of years, they originated from this basic question: what happens if an individual brings stability to the internal mechanism of the mind? Wow, very interesting. Let's find out. This is the discovery. So they said, what do we need to do? Well, let's see, we are breathing, right? Let's see if we can stabilize our breath. Let's see if we can harmonize our breath. So they discovered a link. There's a link, and three things are linked here. It's a direct discovery, which is also possible for us. The link between the speed of the breath, that's one thing. The energy flow inside the mind and the body, that's the second point. And the third link is the mind itself, the speed of the mind, thinking ability, emotional ability. So mind, breath, and energy, they are together. And what they discovered is that if a sadhaka, if an aspirant who is wanting to realize the Atma, stabilizes one of them, the other two will automatically be stabilized. And this discovery, from this discovery, all the yogas have come about. It's from this discovery. Now we know in our lives, if I was to ask all of you, or if we were to ask 1,000 people, do you want to have a stable and clear and peaceful life? They will say yes. But what's required for that? Okay, good health is required. Yes, of course. That's where the Vedas, originally. Good health, yes, with the physical body. Absolutely. But what about the stability and clarity and purity of the mind? Yes, of course. If that is there, only then our life will be happy. Otherwise, how it will be happy? So the stability, the harmony, the peace, the internal clarity, all of this is needed for a happy life. Okay, sure. So, but the fact is, what about energy? So the rishis realized, wait a minute, we have all kinds of energy. How am I using my energy? My God, I need to be aware of this. What a big question that is, and what a significant question. See, these are basic truths for every human being. This is not about a particular religion or a particular sampradaya or a particular approach or these are the fundamental universal truths. Everybody breathes. Every human being has a mind, and everybody has some energy. These are the three things we have directly available to us to discover how to develop a life that is brimming with joy. Because there is an innate and inborn desire to discover happiness, to discover ananda. So the approach taken in ancient times and in tradition, which has come, which is another massive subject, that approach was to stabilize one out of the three. The stability of any one of these will automatically stabilize the other two. So how is this done? Okay, so we have so many breathing techniques. I said, let's play with the breathing. Let's take a deep breath in and then hold the breath and then release the breath, and so many alternate nostril breathing and then rapid breathing and so many kinds. What did they realize? What is the experience? That the stability of the breath and clearing the blockages. Now this is the discovery. When a person tries to stabilize one of the three, breath, mind, or energy, the first thing that one becomes aware of is the blockage of the system. The system is blocked somewhere. Oh my God. So they used a word in Sanskrit, that word is called granthi. Granthi means knot. And they realized that in our life, our chitta, the subconscious mind, the memory structure, is holding the experiences of life. And those experiences are, in some way or another, those experiences are held in such a way that blockages are generated. My goodness. What a great realization. See the realization. And we don't have time obviously to go into the actual word by word of the Patanjali's scriptures, and there's thousands of scriptures that talk about this. But the fact is, this is a matter of direct realization that our life experiences are held inside our mind, inside the chitta vritti, chitta, and then there's a chitta vritti. The chitta is there, that means that the content of the memories are there, and then from there so much thinking and experiences coming out of that. And then they said, wait a minute, is that who I am? And there's a sense of being caught in the limitation of that. Let's be clear on this point. They said, wait a minute, I have all these memories, I have all this, but there's also a lot of blockage in that. There's a blockage of what? What is being blocked? Energy. Energy is being blocked. That is Shakti. Our internal power is not flowing in its optimal capacity. This is the actual foundation of Sanatana Dharma. It is not about rituals and false traditions and superstitions and fears and all the crazy things that are even there today and that have come about. That has nothing to do with Sanatana Dharma at all. It is about you. It is not about anybody else also. Sachin is speaking, Sachin has to see himself only, that's all. Even all the gods and temples and goddesses and everything, all the scriptures and each and everything over 10,000 years has been developed for only one purpose: to discover who you are. And the amazing discoveries are so phenomenal. We're just talking about what this very base level discovery is. And then so much will come out of that in time. So the fact is, when we try to stabilize the mind or our breath, blockages show up. So then they said, what do we do about these blockages? Sometimes there's dislike for somebody, sometimes there's worry, there's tension, there's some memory pops up. And then if you sit for dhyan. They sit with their eyes closed and taking steady breaths and all. And then all of a sudden, all these people show up. People that we have known throughout our life, they show up in the mind. They show up in the dreams. That is swapna avastha. So Jagrat avastha, they said, oh, this is my life in the waking state. But then the person goes to sleep. What's going on at nighttime? Let's be curious about that. They said, so I want to research the nighttime experience introspectively. Introspective research at nighttime. And by the way, this is very interesting. In Vachanamrut, Sajanand Swami Maharaj has covered all this thing. It's amazing. In all the scriptures it is there actually. But one of the points he made is that through Ajnan, a person goes into Swapna Avastha. This is what the Upanishad and the Gita and all the yogic texts are saying. So what is Jnana and Ajnan? All that comes later. But right now in the very beginning stage, there is this curiosity of who am I? But when you try to answer the question, to try to discover who am I, it's not an answer like a mental answer. The answer to the question, who am I, is not an intellectual answer. It is a discovery of the effulgence that is the Atma. It is a discovery. Now, Sachin saying that, you hearing that, other people hearing that, what does the mind do? It says, oh, that sounds very nice. That sounds very interesting. That sounds very beautiful. But the discovery is a whole different matter. Actual discovery, that is called Atma Sakshatkar, the actual discovery of the self, of the Atman is what we are aiming towards that. But to get to that point, this clarity has to shine inside. That the stability of the breath and of the mind and of energy is absolutely, unequivocally necessary. Without that stability, there is no possibility of realizing the Atman or God or anything. Even in this world, we cannot experience progress without this stability. So that stability was the aim. They said, we want to stabilize this. Okay, so they developed lots of sadhanas, lots of ways of stabilizing. That's where all the yogas eventually came from. They came from this intention to stabilize, where they said, let's bring our mind into a very, very still state. The stillness of the mind. Now, stillness of the mind is not destruction of the mind. Stillness of the mind is infused with dynamic energy. So the energies within our system, in our mind, in our thoughts, and in the outside world, these energies all are together. So the mental stillness, that mental, emotional, internal stillness, complete stillness, what does it do? When the sadhaka gets to that stage of total stillness, not the kind of stillness that is there in Shushupti avastha, not that. So that's the third avastha. Let's be clear about that point also. Waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. So in the deep sleep there is a stillness, but there is no awareness. It is a very low energy state. One is not even aware that one is inside the swapna, in the Shushupti avastha. It is a stone-like consciousness. There's nothingness there. And that exists because there's so much turmoil during the daytime in the swapna avastha. The brain shifts into Shushupti avastha. And we can see that through the EEG readings. The reason Shushupti avastha exists is because there's so much chaos in the waking state and the swapna avastha. But if the two states, swapna and swapna and waking and dream state, stabilize. Wow, my God, that is a tremendous state. That is the doorway into the Atma. That is called Turiya avastha. That Turiya is the fourth state, Turiyam. So that opening into Ananda, into the discovery of the Atma. What is this discovery? Very briefly, and I know we're running out of time. But the fact is that this discovery begins with the discovery of the 72,000 nadis. Ida, Pingla, Shushmana Nadi, the 7 major chakras, the 9 chakras also, and there's other chakras also. The chakra system is discovered. My God. Now people in medical sciences and anatomy and physiology and biological sciences, they're looking at the gross body, they say, show me the chakra. You cannot see the chakra that way. It can only be perceived in dhyana. And even that is a perception of the Atma. That is still just a glimpse. That is like an intermediate spiritual energy system, the chakra system. Chakras are not something imaginary. They are vortices. And there's a lot of internal research done in the 10,000 years as to what they are. They have been named, how the energies flow within them, and what exactly is their potency, their power, what is their purpose. All of that has been described. Again, because of limitation of time, we have to go slowly with it, and we have to do it in a simple way. Otherwise, we will be stuck somewhere in just one subject. So the discovery of the chakra system is an intermediate stage that opens up once the mind is still. When the mental activity completely stabilizes, it is not killed, it is stilled. It is not destroyed, it is transformed. The mental activity with energy and everything that's inside there, the content of the mind is not damaged or thrown away. It is utilized in a way to see that which is beyond as a ladder. The content of the mind is not who we are, but it is there to discover who we are. Somebody will say, why does all of this experience of life exist and all that? It exists to experience life in all its glory and also to see that which is beyond that experience. The ability to see, the capacity to see that which is beyond the limitations of the chitta vritti, of the mental activity, of our entanglements in the sansar with limited number of individuals. That capacity to see that, the paths that are shown, this is what Shankaracharya ji is saying when he is using this one word only that we have been looking at, and that is apto kitam, the instructions of a competent person. Khananam. Now just beginning to talk about this second word here, that is khananam. That is what we are saying, that the rishis from ancient times, they said, let's stabilize this mind and see the Veda mantras that came. Every Veda mantra ends with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Why does it end with that? Because it says when you do sadhana, the experiences of life are there, the experiences can change. Veda mantras came even later on, but this is just the very, very beginning of this process, of the stability inside. Ved mantras were heard in that stability, in that great silence. And in that great silence, then one digs deeper. And the more we go inside, the better off we are going to be. But to go inside, one has to know how to do that. Otherwise, you sit for just 5 minutes with your eyes closed, for example. It will be very difficult. Even if you sit with your eyes open for 5 minutes, it is very difficult. So any sadhana that is done under the instructions of the various gurus, they are giving that instruction because they have traveled that path. That came in tradition. That is called Guru Shishya Parampara. And that is where the Upanishads eventually came from. So let me close this today just by saying this much, because there's so much to be said about this. It's so tremendous that the Upanishads, the word Upanishad means you're going to the feet of the great saints who are awakened completely into the higher truth because they have gone outside the disturbances of the mind and sitting at their feet, sitting with them. Upa means to go near, Nishad means to sit. Upanishad is going and sitting at their feet because they have awakened at the higher consciousness. And that is why in India today we have all these tirtha, holy places. How did those places become holy? Because of the saints, because of the gurus. That's one way, at least. There's some other ways also, but this is one way. So there's so much respect that developed. How did it develop for thousands of years like that? It didn't develop just like that because of the divinity that is shining in the light of these enlightened beings. And people who go to them from ancient times till today, who go to them, sit at their feet, learn the Brahma Vidya. And in fact, it's even more than that. It's the presence of an enlightened being. In Vachanamrut, I'll close with this. Sajanand Swami Maharaj, he mentioned, Manomaya Chakra Nidhara. When you go near an enlightened being, the presence is so powerful that our own mental activity, we experience shanti, we experience the steadying of the mind. Wherever, if we are sitting with an actual person, and just the presence of such a person stabilizes our inner mind and makes us feel so much better. Just the presence of that is where the Manomaya Chakra means the mental active, not those 9 chakras, but Manomaya Chakra, mental mind stabilizes. And Maharaj in Vachanamrut mentioned beautifully that in such a place, with such a person, in such an environment, He said in Vachanamrut, Tya Kalyan Ichhu. That means to open the desire for moksha. It is possible to move into mukti when there is the discovery of these holy sages, holy places. This is called tirtha. Tirthatva. In Gujarati we say tirthne tirthatva apnara ekantik santache in Gujarati language. It simply means that the purity, the holiness that comes, that is in a place, is due to the awakened higher level vibration, the Brahmic state. And from that, the grace is flowing through such a being. And that is what is really the essence of Upanishad. In modern language, we can say that is Brahmic state. Or we can say, it is an awakened, enlightened, living Brahman. The human being is human, form is human, but the Brahman is present. The Bhagavan is present there. Because of the Atmic realization, the person is not living in any limitation that we as human beings live in. These are some of the foundational ideas. We will continue this tomorrow. Tomorrow we will meet at 8:30 a.m. Tomorrow is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Again, many prayers to the Supreme Lord, to the great sages, for health, wealth, happiness for everybody. And may we all, on this beautiful journey, continue our contemplation, continue our sadhana, continue our prayers, so that we can evolve further. Because the fact is, this body is going to go one day. We don't know when it's going to go. It can go anytime. Body is here one day, gone the next. But while we are here, the development of Brahma Vidya, development of Brahmasthiti, realization, higher realization is the ultimate thing, and it is worth going into that. So thank you all very much. We will do the closing prarthana just right now.